I'm very excited about today's presentation. The library has recently expanded the access that we have to Wolters Kluwer titles through VitalLaw. It's very easy to access. What you see on your screen is the King County Law Library homepage, which is simply kcll.org. And this middle icon here in the top row is to our databases and digital library page. If you give that a click, you'll see the databases that we have on offer. In the top row, a second from the left, is the VitalLaw database. Give that a quick click. And here's a VitalLaw page. On the right-hand side, you can see all of the content that can be accessed in VitalLaw, and it's really now an extensive list. There's a complete list here that's alphabetical. Give that another click. Here we go. So this is just a PDF of all the titles in alphabetical order. You can see that it's very, very extensive. So we're excited to offer this not just to library subscribers, but also to registered guests, which is a free program that the library offers. So down here on the bottom, you'll see a link to registered guests. This is where you can become one. It is free of charge. Once we process your request, you will be issued a library card number, and that's all that you will need to access VitalLaw. So if you have that library card number, simply click on the Go button, and you're off to the races. So today we have Jeff Brandemart from Wolters Kluwer, who is going to give us an introduction to what you can find in VitalLaw. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and let Jeff take over.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sean.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, very good. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It's my pleasure to present the content today and just give everyone a quick overview of VitalLaw. Some of you may have used this platform in the past. It may be completely new to others. So I do want to spend a little bit of time just giving you a quick orientation on the homepage here. Since you are registering, you should be able to set up some customization once you get here, because it sounds like you'll be signing on with the same library ID every time you come in and access. So I'll point out a couple of things you can do there just to build in a bit of efficiency. But just to give you a quick overview of this main page, when you first sign in, the first time you will be brought to the all content page, which is going to list all the different practice areas that are included within the King County subscription. Each of these practice areas you can expand to find more materials that are housed or organized under those individual practice areas. So we're going to spend some time looking at the litigation content today. So we'll dive into that and take a little bit of a look at the specific materials that you have available. At the top of the screen, you will see this blue toolbar, and that is going to stay static throughout your session. So regardless of where you are, you'll always be able to see these links here at the top. Sean pointed out the list of titles that are available. So you have that PDF. It might be a little bit easier to come onto VitalLaw and actually access titles here at the top, because these will actually be searchable. You can actually view content organized by subject matter. So if I just want to see an alphabetical listing of all the litigation titles in the subscription, I can do that pretty easily here from that titles link. I can sort of bounce around within the different sets of content. I can type in a quick search term up here at the top as well to find materials that might be useful to me. And I'm just going to close that really quickly. Some of these other links you'll see at the very top, again, just have to do with customization. So favorites, history, folders, you should be able to fully utilize those. My understanding is that you'll be able to sign in here again with the same credential every time. So you can save materials to your favorites. You can have a folder if you would like. We'll talk a bit about new sign up a little bit later in the session. This is a way to have some of the content from VitalLaw sent to you directly via email. Those are going to be the current awareness materials that are within the subscription. So newsletters and dailies that are specific to those practice areas. And you will also see in that blue toolbar at the top a link out to practical content, which we're going to take a look at today as well. There are a variety of different ways to get into some of these content sets. So just be aware that practical content, which is typically going to be some of the more workflow-oriented materials like smart charts or guidebooks, things of that nature, can be housed under practical content. But you're also going to see everything under the practice areas themselves. So it's really just personal preference in terms of how you want to access the material that you want to work with. You'll also always see, regardless of where you are within the platform, the search band up at the very top of your screen here. So when you're here on the all content page, you could search within all content if you wanted to. You're talking about a lot of information here, and you probably would want to limit yourself to a specific library or even a specific resource. But I do find it helpful if you're on this homepage to, again, use the search within bar to look for a specific resource. So if I knew that the Wigmore title on evidence was part of this subscription, I just couldn't remember quite where it was housed, I could type in Wigmore there and it would show me a link to that particular resource. I can do the same thing with subject matter. So if I'm looking for materials on discovery, I could type in discovery and it's going to show me some titles that are related to discovery that are in my particular subscription. The subscription is all inclusive, so you're never going to see anything that is not included in your account. So if you see it here, you have access to it and you can link into it and have total access to that material and that content. So I'm just using the home screen or the home link up here at the top to bounce back to this all content page. You can also just always click on that VitalLaw Wolters Kluwer icon in the upper left as well if you would like to come back. One other thing before we jump into the litigation content specifically, well, two other things. You will see also at the top of the screen here, kind of over in the upper right-hand corner, there's a products link. This is yet another way. There are some platforms that are included in the King County's VitalLaw subscription that technically sit outside of VitalLaw, and one of them that is particularly relevant in the litigation space is the AFJ, or the Almanac of the Federal Judiciary. We are going to see this same resource on the litigation tab as well. So you can come into it however you would like. Just be aware that it is going to be under that product menu as well. It's not costing you anything additional. It's not costing you anything at all to get into it. Just because it's listed there under products, you can still get into that as well. And then the other thing I'll point out on this all content page before we move on is that if you scroll down to the very bottom of this screen, you will see a section here under Need Help, which are going to be some online resources that you can use if you do need any assistance with finding materials, searching. You have training and support options here as well. I'm guessing there are some, troubleshooting technology tools that you have directly through the library as well. But if it's specifically related to VitalLaw, you can come out and take a look at some tutorials that will help you manage the content or work with the content there as well. You do have primary source content available as well. So you'll see at the very top in that blue toolbar, you have all laws and regs, legislation and rules at both the federal and state level. So you'll be able to get into that material as well if you would like. And then we're going to go back to the home page. So at that, I'm going to link into the litigation content practice area specifically, and we'll see that when we do that, the screen changes a bit. Now we're looking specifically at the content that is related to litigation. Again, note that static toolbar up at the top. I can still link into all those materials or pivot over to a title search or jump into a folder. But now in the center of the screen, we're just seeing the titles that are related to that litigation practice area. We do have the ability, again, to search. So up here at the top, I could search across all of this content if I wanted to. Again, it's pretty expansive. So odds are you're going to probably jump into a specific library or a specific content set before you start running your searches. And then just notice how the material is organized. It is typically, and this is going to hold true across all of the different practice areas, but you will typically see the material organized by content type or by subject matter. So you'll see all of the evidence materials in one place. Some primary source, again, the Federal Rules of Evidence, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, some civil practice and procedure treatises, and we can scroll down to see some of the other materials. You'll see these blue boxes popping up, for example, under the evidence titles, where it says see all. And basically that just means that we've kind of conserved real estate on the web page here, and we're not showing you everything that you have. If I want to see more titles, I can just click see all there, and it will show me the complete list of evidence treatises and titles that I have available to me. If you would like, you can customize at this point. So I can hit that customization link, and I can choose to add specific titles to that homepage, to that practice area page, litigation page, if I would like. Or I can remove things. If I'm not using something that's popping up all the time, I can get rid of it. But if I wanted the Federal Rules of Evidence, for example, to pop up there, if I wanted this destruction of evidence title, I can just make those selections. I can hit save and close, and then we'll see those listed there as well. To the right-hand side of the screen, you will see some practice tools. So I mentioned earlier that under that products link at the top, you could access the Almanac of the Federal Judiciary. It is also here under your litigation tab, so you can access that fairly easily. And then you have some things called smart charts, and we'll take a look at those after we've looked at some of the specific titles that we have off here to the left-hand side. But the smart charts are typically, again, they're going to fall into that practice tool or practical content sort of wheelhouse, where we're really kind of providing you, specific answers to specific questions, or again, workflow tools that will help you work with your individual clients. Scrolling down, we'll see that you have some agency rules that are going to just populate here. Those may or may not be relevant. You also do have some forms that are available off here to the right-hand side as well. You can typically limit yourself to the particular type of form. They put that form widget pretty much on all the different practice area pages, even if the content isn't that relevant to the practice area itself. So you can take a look at that if you'd like, but I think you're probably going to focus most of your attention off here to the left-hand side. So once you do find a specific set of material or a specific resource that you would like to use, you can just click into that specific resource. So if I want to take a look at more detail in that Wigmore title on evidence, I can open it up from the practice area page. We'll then see with all titles, you will always get this initial table of contents, where we see the table of contents off to the left-hand side, and then whatever section is active is going to appear off to the right. You do have the ability at all times to come to the extreme left-hand side here and browse the document information or treatise information. So this can be nice if you are wondering, perhaps how frequently this particular title is updated. Wigmore is updated 5 times per year. It was last updated on August 1st, 2025, and scope of coverage is going to be included down below as well. A lot of the treatises that you'll work with on VitalLaw are going to be updated on a very frequent basis, so that's good news. Once you start working with the table of contents, it's going to work, in a pretty intuitive way. I can kind of scroll down and see the specific material that I might be interested in. I can expand the different chapters. I can click on those links to get into specific subsections or specific chapters within the title itself. Once I have a section active off here to the right-hand side, you'll see that I can use these little icons across the top to manage that content. I can add this section to my favorites. I can drop it into a folder. I can copy a link to this particular link or this particular document and share with others that have access to this same library. They'll be able to click on that link. They'll enter their credentials for VitalLaw, and it will take them right here. Notice also that as I work with that table of contents and as I expand content, we've always got this search within box up at the very top. Search within will always appear, and it will actually always search the entire contents of whatever treatise you have open or whatever resource you have open currently. So if you've already taken the time to sort of work down through the table of contents and find a section that is relevant for the research that you're doing, search within will not search this, experiential capacity section. To do that, what you want to do is come off to the left-hand side, and you'll see as I kind of hover my cursor next to those different sections, these little magnifying glasses pop up. So that's the actual locate feature within VitalLaw. So if I now wanted to, just scan this particular section, it's not that long, but sometimes these sections will be pretty lengthy. So if I just wanted to do a very quick search for whatever term it is, let's just say I'm looking for fitness, I can enter that term there, and then it's going to look like a search result, but it's really just taking me to that same particular document that we had open before, and it's going to highlight that fitness term for me. I can either use these little navigation arrows up at the top, or I can just kind of scroll through the document to see where those highlighted terms are appearing. But that's going to be the easiest way to kind of navigate through the material as you're working with it. And then obviously, one of the nice things about these treatises is they will be footnoted. So when the treatises are updated, that's typically when more current case law or trending materials are going to be added to the treatise itself. So let's go back to the home page. So the other thing I wanted to point out really quickly were those practice tools and practice materials that you have available. I'm going to go back into litigation, and we're going to take a look at some of these smart charts off to the right-hand side. So all of these different titles that we looked at earlier, or that I mentioned earlier, are going to work in a very similar way to that one more title. You can just open it up, you can search within, you can browse the table of contents. When you're working with the practice tools, and I am just going to use, as an example, this damage claims, you'll see it's a 50-state guide smart chart under practice tools. This is going to open in a new window, but you are still within your subscription. Looks like kind of a different page, but this is going to allow me to choose a specific topic. So I can click on those little plus marks to expand a particular topic, and then I can find a specific jurisdiction that I'm interested in, and I can choose multiple jurisdictions here. So my topic here is recovery for economic losses permitted where no physical damage to property. And then I can just choose, let's say that I just want to do a handful of states. Sometimes you have the ability to choose subtopics, but once I choose my jurisdictions and I choose the individual state jurisdictions, I can then see exactly what's going on in those particular topics with links to relevant citations and relevant cases and topics that might be relevant on that particular material. So these are very helpful in terms of finding material that is relevant in a particular jurisdiction. If we go back to that litigation page, I want to take a really quick look at that business torts smart chart as well, because this one works in a slightly different way. although I think still fairly intuitive. Your first option is to select your topic. So I'm just going to do the second topic there, tortious interference. And then at the top, I just need to click that section 2 to choose my jurisdictions. And we'll just do, again, a handful here. And then I click number 3 to generate my list of results. And when you generate your list of results for smart charts, they will typically come up in this type of display where each state is listed. There will be a quick discussion or a quick overview of how whatever particular topic you've chosen is dealt with, or how it's dealt with in that particular jurisdiction. And then you'll have a link out to the actual 50-state guide where you can see where that particular information is housed on VitalLaw. So it's actually just going to take us back to VitalLaw. That 50-state guide is another treatise, and we'll see where they're pulling that information from. So the surveys or the smart charts just are a way of allowing you to pull information quickly in a more sort of detailed way. And again, sort of limit yourself to particular jurisdictions and see how they compare and contrast. The other way to access those smart charts, if you just knew that that's exactly what you wanted to do and you wanted to see exactly how that material was organized, you could go to practical content up at the top. Just make sure that the practice area is chosen or selected as litigation, and then you'll see all the smart charts that are available to you. It's just those 3, the business torts, the lawyer's desk book smart chart, and the damage claims. But then you'll also see some forms, databases, some guidebooks that are all available for you there as well. And the other thing I would point out is that when we're back here at the homepage, you will see a little bit of overlap. I spent some time on the litigation tab because that's where all of the litigation content is going to reside. But if you went into that practice area called Practice of Law, we would see some of the same materials that were under the litigation tab listed here as well. So the jury selection titles are going to be on the litigation tab as well. This of counsel title is one of your current awareness materials. And so with that, I am going to actually pivot over to a quick discussion of those current awareness materials. So you'll see these, again, kind of peppered throughout VitalLaw. They'll typically be listed under news or news and blogs or current awareness. But when we open that title, we'll see that this is just going to be, again, very up-to-date information, articles on trending areas in a particular area of litigation, both domestic and international, if that's of interest to you, so you can kind of browse down through and see what's related here. Again, you can click on that little information or scope icon to see what exactly is included in this publication, how frequently it comes out. And then the other tool that you have to work with these common current awareness materials is, again, up here in the right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see News Sign Up. So if you're not coming onto VitalLaw that frequently, but you would like to be given access to some of the newsletters or dailies in your email, you can come out here to either newsletters or dailies. What will happen is when you come in here, it should populate with your email address, because again, I think we're capturing that when you register as a guest. You can then scroll down and expand whatever topic of law or practice area you're interested in. And you'll see the individual materials that you have available. So that business tort report newsletter is available. There's also that of counsel title that we saw. And to subscribe, you would just simply select with a check under where it says email subscribe, and then save and close, and you'll be able to get into that material quickly. Or I'm sorry, that will go to your email when new issues come out. You'll get an email with the latest entries for that particular title. And we will close out of here. The other thing I would just point out is when you do sign in, it will always bring you to this all content page. And notice that as I click home, it's always going to bring me back to all content. If you're really only using the litigation content, if that's really the primary content that you work with, What you can do is come up here to the top when you're signed in. And again, you should see your email address appearing. And next to that is this little gear wheel. If you go to Site Preferences, you can actually set a default dashboard that is not all content. So for example, if I want to always go to the litigation content, I can set that as my default homepage, hit save and close. And then when I sign on, I'll just automatically come to the litigation content. And then as I move around and jump into different materials, browse content, whatever it is, if I come back to the top and hit home, I'll just go back to the litigation content. So it makes that a little bit cleaner. You can always pull that menu down at the top to jump into any of those other practice areas that we saw. And then I can always just go back to all content from there to see all the practice areas listed on the homepage as well. And that is kind of all I have. I think if you hadn't seen the platform before, hopefully that gave you a good sense of what's available, especially within that current awareness and litigation practice area space. But hopefully the sort of navigation tips and tricks, those will work really across the board. So if there's another practice area here that you'd like to explore, I think you'll be fine in terms of getting in there and working with that content. So with that, I will open it up to questions.
Thank you very much, Jeff. There is one question so far that somebody has submitted. They ask, they're not sure if you're familiar with Law 360, but if you are, how does the VitalLaw news coverage compare to Law 360?
Yeah, unfortunately, I am not that familiar. I obviously know about Law 360, but I don't know what the lineup is in terms of how the comparison would work out. I do know that we try to, I'm not honestly even sure how Law 360 derives some of their content. I know that we work primarily with editors on our side and with the specific practice areas themselves to really kind of pinpoint the materials that would be useful to our users. But I don't know to what extent there's overlap, to what extent you'll find things here that you won't find there, or vice versa. So I apologize. I can probably get an answer though and share that with Sean, and we can spread the word.
Sure, yeah, we'd welcome that. A lot of people ask about Law 360. I think that's why the question came up.
Yeah.
The primary law coverage for all state and federal cases, statutes, and regulations. Do you know how often those materials are updated?
I do not. I assume it's as they are updated. I don't know how quickly we get updates posted online. I would think it would have to be pretty quickly, but I'm not sure. I don't have a specific answer. But you can come out and you can set up alerts on these as well. But yeah, I don't have a great answer. Sorry.
And someone else asks about a practice area for criminal law. Is there?
Yeah, I think it's all going to be under litigation. I don't think there's anything specific to criminal law under the specific practice areas. So again, we can look at all content, and you'll see, there could be like a subtitle under one of these other practice areas, but I would say your best bet would be to check out litigation. And then from here, again, you could just type in to see if there's a criminal law title. I would usually just start here, or you could go to your, so they have this Florida criminal cases notebook. I'm not sure why they're specific on Florida, but you could also go to your titles up at the top. And again, just make sure you're under litigation, or, if you wanted to, you could just search across all content to see if there was something on the criminal content, but there's not a specific practice area for that subtopic.
Gotcha. And somebody else asks whether there's a way to shepherdize primary sources.
There is not. So that is one big distinction between VitalLaw and the other big platforms. We do not have a citator.
Folks are always welcome to come into the law library and use the Westlaw machines that we have here. The law library also has a document delivery service. So if somebody wanted to see a key site report for a case, they can do that through our website as well. And someone else asks, are the James Publishing titles just grouped together in that one place in under litigation, or do they appear individually in the practice areas?
That is a good question. I'm assuming that depending on how they're dealing, so yeah, they're going to be under all the different practice areas as well. So you have titles here on family law, things that probably wouldn't necessarily be. There's this employment jury instructions. So those are probably going to be interspersed throughout. So again, if you're familiar with the title, and you can use either the title or author information to sort of track down those individual titles. And again, I think it's easiest, you can come out to the litigation page and just look at all the James Publishing titles, or, if I knew, for example, that I really needed to find this White's title on Florida causes of action. Not sure why Florida is coming up so much, but we can go to any of our screens here, just type in White's, and that will identify the title for us pretty quickly.
All right. And someone writes, I see that there is an elder law section. Is there an estate trust and probate section or tax section, or would they just need to resource those topics through primary sources?
Yeah, so those obviously do exist. They're just not a part of this subscription. So you would just be going into laws and regs and legislation and rules if you wanted to find that content yourself. Okay. So no treatises or smart charts or anything of that nature in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there templates available in VitalLaw, for instance, sample agreements, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so the sample forms that you see off here to the right-hand side, those are typically template format, so you can download them and install whatever language that you need. If you're on that home page again and you've got all content chosen, you can come down to the quick links that are in the center of the screen, and you can go to forms, and this will show you all the forms that you have across all practice areas, not just litigation, but so someone asked about elder and estates law, so I could choose that, and then it will show me the forms that we have available in that particular area. You'll see that a lot of these are coming out of something called the Elder Law Forms Manual. And then if I go into, I'm just picking one kind of randomly here, you'll see this one's not terribly robust, but I can go into here's related forms. And we could download this and use it in any way that we want.
That's great. Somebody had also asked about whether is there a way to search for forms across the entire platform, and I think you just answered that. I love being able to share a link to a specific section in a treatise with somebody else who has access to VitalLaw. And since it's a free resource that folks can access through the law library, I think that makes it a pretty powerful collaborative tool. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's very simple. Just remember, you're looking for that little link, so it will appear once you're in a specific section, and you just click on that. It copies the link to your clipboard, so you can go over to email, paste, and that link should work for anyone else who has access to the subscription.
And is there a way within the platform? You mentioned the folders. I assume you can save sections of a treatise that you're researching to a folder. Is there a way to annotate that material in any way?
Yeah, of course. So when you are in, let me just pick something here randomly. We will save this to a folder. I'm just going to create a quick test here. And then I can add any sort of descriptions here. If I save that, then now it's in a folder, so I'll be able to find it from my folders, but I should also always be able to highlight language.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then notes, highlight anything of that nature. And then once I add my note, that will also be saved on the document in my folder as well.
And can you share those documents from your folder with somebody else, a colleague?
Good question. I believe if I look at my saved items, so I just used my toolbar up here at the top, and I think I can share, let's see, those are highlights. You should be able to share the folder, but I'm not honestly sure if the notes will carry over as well. I know that on some of these platforms, people do not want the annotations shared; they just want to share the documents themselves. But,
yeah, so good point. There's another question submitted. Would you be able to show an example of the answer book content?
Oh, sure, of course. So again, let's just go back to all content. And these are, again, going to be sort of across practice areas. So a good way to just get a sense of everything that's available is either to come out to all content and go to quick links. You will always have the ability to browse by practice area. So once you're in the answer books themselves, you can just choose your practice area. There aren't that many listed here, but again, looks like you have about 45, which is actually a pretty good list. And we'll just look at the elder answer book. This is just another type of secondary source that just gets very sort of granular in terms of, answering very specific questions and providing information, in that sort of format. So what is a D4A trust? And then I get the editorial answer, as well as sometimes these will also be footnoted with links out to other related content.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
It's a really I think a powerful set of resources for folks to use, especially given that it's people can access it freely through KCLL.org. So I'm excited to learn about this. And if anyone has additional questions, please submit them in the Q&A pod there on the right. When we're all done, I would encourage folks to just go to our website, take a look at the list of titles that are available, and then sign up as a registered guest and hop into VitalLaw for yourself and see what's available. Someone asks whether there are any AI-enabled legal research tools available in VitalLaw.
We do have them. They are not on this particular subscription. So not currently, but possibly in the future.
Are there some 50-state surveys that are available in VitalLaw?
So we talked about, for litigation, I showed you the smart charts there that were specifically on damage claims and business torts. If you wanted to see, so they will typically all be, the 50-state surveys on VitalLaw are typically called smart charts. So the best way to see all of them, again, I would say, is to go to practical content. I would go ahead and just leave all practice areas selected. And then under practical content, I would choose your smart charts. And then you can just see all. You have over 100. And then if you did want to limit to a specific area, let's just say as an example here that we want to look at human resources. I could go out and take a look at the cannabis employment jurisdictional comparison. So this is very similar to what we saw earlier in the litigation context, but I can just, select my topic, testing requirements. I want all 50 states. So I can either do all 50 or I can choose individual states, and then I can quickly generate a list of results that shows me exactly how each state is dealing with that particular topic.
So 50 state surveys accessed through the smart charts.
Exactly.
Very good. And someone, I don't know if I think we may have already addressed this. Somebody asks whether there is any federal and state tax information available. Go ahead.
Not under this particular plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you obviously you can browse the code.
The primary source.
Full access to the entire U.S. code.
Yeah.
Any legislation that's coming out of those particular bodies, but nothing. There's not a practice area related to that to the tax here.
Gotcha. And is there any international law coverage available in VitalLaw?
So there is. So you'll see Kluwer Law International under the practice area. And if you take that link out, you will see all the international materials that you have available. And again, I would just remember to click on those little see all links. And then, for some of these, you're really not having to take up too much extra space. If international is, the area of law that you work within, I could just come out and customize to make sure all those materials are always visible to me. But again, if you knew, a specific title or an author, you could just type it in up at the top on any of the VitalLaw search screens, and it will identify that as a resource that's available to you. Mm-hmm. So there's something here on L&E. There's an International Encyclopedia of Laws on privacy and technology, GDPR content, and then an assortment of blogs across different practice areas as well: mediation, arbitration, patents. And
that's a good question. How does the blog content differ from the news content, or is there any overlap? Are they related?
Yeah, I think that the blog, the KLI is all put together. It's sort of a separate entity, Kluwer Law, from VitalLaw. So VitalLaw is typically more domestic in nature, and the Kluwer Law is being put together, typically out of the country. The resources that you're going to see for current awareness and news are typically very specific resources. I think the blogs are just being put together by editors, and they're just pulling, sort of random information that would be relevant within that space.
I see. So editors are going out and seeing what's available, and then
yeah, exactly. Versus, if I go to news sign up and I look at your dailies, you have this IP law daily, right? And I could, take a look at that or subscribe to that. And that's just gonna, show me like new things that came out that are in that specific publication. So it's not necessarily something that Wolters Kluwer is putting together, but we include it in the subscription. The newsletters might give you a little bit of a better idea if we look at employee benefits as example. So there's a title called Cobra Connections. There's something called the Employee Benefit Plan Review. Again, you can just click on those little scope icons to get a sense of what the coverage is there. But these are, written by experts in the field. That could be partners at law firms, judges, law professors, just whoever is working with that particular publication. So these newsletters and dailies probably are more analogous to, treatises or even law reviews maybe that are, independently published.
Understood. And someone asks whether the James publishing content is that arranged by publisher or just by kind of practice area?
I'm not entirely sure how this works, but the James publishing titles, I think that's just another publisher, and we have access to the content, and so I am guessing that they're going to be sort of spread throughout practice areas, dependent on like what the title is. But it looks like when we're on the litigation page, all of the James publishing titles are showing up. But my guess is, like, for example, some of these titles on family law, employment discrimination, even though they're within litigation, they would probably show up under employment, labor and employment, or family law as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see a treatise can show up in multiple locations throughout the platform, right? It can be housed under multiple practice areas. You're not going to miss out on something if you go into litigation looking for this family law title. It will still show up there. You don't have to know to go to family law as well.
Yeah, better to see too much than too little.
Exactly.
And someone asks about immigration law materials.
Yeah, good question. I don't think there is anything. There's not a specific practice area, but again, that doesn't mean, I might try something up here at the top. So there is a title on immigration law in the workplace. Mm-hmm. And notice you have archived materials as well. So just notice when you are searching for titles that way, make sure you're going into the current version and not the archived version. Mm-hmm. But then you have, a nice treatise on that specific subcategory of immigration law, if that would be helpful.
Yeah. So that we saw that James Publishing had some real estate to itself, and I think that some NIDA materials are broken out as well. Are any other publishers featured like that?
I think it's just dependent on the publisher, and I do think that has something to do with our third-party licensing agreements with those publishers. They kind of want the call out, but I'm not. I think it'll just sort of depend on the practice area and the publisher. But those are two. James and NIDA are good examples that you might see that elsewhere as well.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, if anyone thinks of another question, I'll give you just another minute or two to type it into the Q&A pod there. And again, not to sound like a broken record, I would encourage folks to go to kcll.org and click on our database page, and then from there to the VitalLaw page and see everything that's at your disposal. Registering to become a guest is very easy, free, of course. And just so you can see what the process of becoming a registered guest looks like, I'll quickly walk you through the steps. You can begin on the King County Law Library homepage. You can either Google us or go directly to kcll.org. This is what our homepage looks like. Click on the Databases and Digital Library link in the top row of icons. Here is our databases page. You'll find the link to VitalLaw in the top row. If you are already a registered guest, you can simply click on the Go button and enter your library card number. If you are not already a registered guest, simply click on the link immediately above the Go button to become one. There, you'll find a short form to fill out to become a guest. And don't forget about the verification field, so we know that you're not a robot. The code to type in is right over here. After you submit your request, you'll see this screen. It tells you that you'll need to check your email for a confirmation link. When you go to your email, you'll see a message that looks something like this. Simply click on the link to confirm. After clicking on the link, you'll be taken to a screen that contains your username, password, and library card number. You will use this number to log in to VitalLaw. It's that easy. And if you have any questions, you can always send them to us. You see it down there at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. services@kcll.org is our email address. We'll be happy to answer those as well. That was really very interesting. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thanks everyone for engaging, and I appreciate all the questions. Sorry I wasn't able to answer all of them. I will try to figure it out and we'll get back.
Yeah, that was great. And folks can always send those questions to our email address as well. So we're getting some positive feedback from attendees. So thank you, Jeff. But before everyone goes, I just want to remind you that there is a little feedback survey. I'm going to change the layout here. So thanks again, Jeff.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. So here we are. Here's the feedback survey. Please do take just a minute or two to let us know what you think about the class. And I think we even have some music here to keep you company while you're filling out the survey. But thank you again, everyone, for dialing in.